Welcome in. Welcome into the basement. This place is outrageous. I'm with my boys, Paul Martino, Derrick Brooks, my guys. I got the honor of like driving the car right now, driving one of their matching Bentleys. All right.
On what the hell is it? The TPS reports, the TL2 reports. I don't know what the freaking stupid movie. I says Office Space. I don't know the TPS reports. But what do you think?
L2M.
The L2M report,
which is the
TPS report,
which is the last 2 minutes of the game. They do a report the next day.
Right.
Which, if you'll remember, that came back to haunt us when we played the Sixers versus the Knicks, and they said there were 4 uncalled fouls in the last 40 seconds. When Tyrese Maxey got pushed to the ground and the Knicks ended up winning that game. The report the next day said, oops, my bad, and there's nothing we could do about it.
You know what's fascinating is that it's the same thing happens in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Like where the NFL, the league will send an apology to a team.
Oh, thank you.
Right? And they go,
you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Like how many times coaches go nuts too? It's like, I'd rather you not say, I'm sorry, I blew the call. Right? Like, and this is with replay so substantial in the NFL, but they miss stuff all the time where they blow a call and then they review the tape. In fact, you know who was a big, who used to do all that was John Runyon.
Oh, yeah.
And John was in charge of all that stuff. So they would review it and they would reach out, and he also would find players. So there could be plays that weren't called as penalties, but they would still get fined for them.
You know, this reminds me of a story. I want to set this up, though, because we need to come back to your thoughts on the Sixers and how screwed up they are.
Yeah,
right? I mean, we need to get that. Yeah. But I got to get this story out of my way because you getting that useless letter reminds me of something funny. So for years, you guys know this, I was on the board of FanDuel, and, you know, the state governments went after us. At one point, the Attorney General in New York literally tried to put me in jail for running an illegal gambling operation. But the state of Nevada, they had a special one. They sent us the nicest letter. It reminds me of the TL2 letter. It says, Dear FanDuel, we've deemed your business to be an illegal gambling operation in the state of Nevada. Very pleasant, very cheerful paper it was on. It says, don't worry, we invite you to become regulated in the great state of Nevada. Right? Like an invitation, like, thank you and welcome. So we look it up. We go, well, all it takes for us to be regulated in the state of Nevada is to go buy a land-based casino. Oh, you're thank you. We feel very, very welcome. We hung the letter up on the wall, and we literally had to turn off fantasy sports in Nevada for a year or two until we resolved the matter. But I just remember getting that letter. You get that letter from the government. You get that letter from the commissioner. Well, you know, I'm sorry. It turns out those 4 fouls would have been the difference in the game. We're sorry about that. But don't worry. We can get it next time. You can be regulated. You can be part of our team. You know, I'm just like, what the hell kind of letter is this anyway?
How did they say, it's funny, how did they deem the fantasy? Because I love the fantasy stuff. To this day, I like fantasy.
Yeah.
Is more interesting than just picking a game.
It was all political. And each state had its own issue. Like, you know, sports betting's still not legal in the state of California for one reason. The tribal interests are so strong that they keep it all. Even they did a ballot initiative, didn't matter. The tribal interests are too strong. In Nevada, it was largely Sheldon Adelson was behind that. That letter, it didn't come from Sheldon Adelson.
Right.
But Adelson very much had a point of view that all of sports betting had to run through the land-based casinos. Right. And he probably had enough support on the Casino Control Commission to send that letter to us online operators. I'm sure DraftKings got the same one and anybody else. But each state had its own politics, and Adelson was, even though politically I was on his team on a lot of other issues, on this issue, I'm going to tell you right now, we did not see eye to eye on this one.
Well, you know what's wild, and this goes back to a larger subject, which is how we're governed, right? Like if you think about it, fantasy sports, people love it. Like, why shouldn't they be allowed? Now, there should be regulations, and you have watchdogs and everything else. But all because of politics, all because of interests. And that's where we are today.
Yeah.
In a much grander scale, everything's bought, everything's a commodity, right? It doesn't matter what the people want or need.
Well, here's an even crazier story about FanDuel and regulation. So there was a bill passed in, I think it was 1990. It was called Eureka. And I forget what UEJA was. UEJA basically outlawed all of sports betting except, but there was an exemption in UEJA for fantasy sports leagues. It was passed in 1990. It's what was repealed in 2018 that led to the legalization of sports betting. But let me tell you the craziest part about it. There's an exemption in the 1990 bill that says your fantasy sports league is not subject to this regulation. Do you know why? Either you want to guess why that was in the bill?
Because the lawmaker was in a fantasy baseball league.
Yeah, you got it. I'm literally not making this
serious?
up. There was the Senate had to pass the reconciliation version of the bill, and the senators had a damn fantasy football league, or baseball league. It was baseball.
Yeah, because baseball was the first.
And so
we're exempt.
they wrote that loophole in UEJA in 1990 because of their own freaking league among these 8 senators.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
That loophole is the one that Nigel and Leslie Eccles said, well, if it's legal to do that, why don't we do fantasy sports instead of for the whole season over one day? And the birth of daily fantasy.
Wow.
So that loophole,
Wow, that's wild.
that loophole written in 1990 in that bill is how the whole fantasy sports business was built, all because these 8 senators didn't want their league to get shut down by their own legislation. But this is the point you were making. It's all about,
That's crazy.
It's all about
Yeah.
when you're there, you exempt it your own thing. Now, eventually, we had to go through all the legal battles we went through. We got it legalized. We won the big case in 2018. It was called PASPA repeal, blah, blah, blah. But you just happened because those senators didn't want to get shut down. And you guessed it, too. I love that you got that, cuz.
Well, it's funny. When I had to be a kid. I mean, I remember this. 12, 13 years old. I was in a fantasy baseball league.
Yeah.
This is like in the early 80s. And you would have to, you drafted on, like, by mail.
Yeah.
And the company was in Utah.
Okay.
And you would get a mailing, you would get a letter every week of your standings.
Yeah.
And
right.
what you were, like, I couldn't wait.
It used to be hard to do. You had to go pull the back page of the newspaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they did that. Right?
Yeah, they did it for you.
Right. It was unbelievable because I loved it. Like, I was in a fantasy basketball league with all my buddies.
Yeah.
And it was, it was crazy. It was like early 90s.
Right.
And one year I had to be the commissioner, and I had to go through every late box score, like you said.
Yep.
I'd have newspapers
Yeah.
in my
It's a lot of work.
apartment. Yeah. Oh, he had 18 points, 2
Being a
rebounds,
commissioner
6
was a lot of work back then.
well, yeah. Not like today. It's great.
You hit the buttons.
Yeah, it's all
Real
done.
time
Yeah,
scoring. Come on, you kids don't know. You kids don't know what it was like to walk
This
up and
is how
down.
lucky. How was? I got a question. How was DFS created? Like, how did they figure out? All right, we're going to do one day, and then the scoring systems and everything else around.
Well,
it.
there's a lot more to the story, but I'm going to focus on the legal part of it. So, remember, Nigel and Leslie, and there's 2 other founders, 4 people started coming. They live in Edinburgh, Scotland. It's not like they're even in the United States.
Right.
They're in Edinburgh, Scotland, and they come up with this idea. Basically, they were at South by Southwest, the conference. It's actually going on right now. South by Southwest is going on in Austin right now. It's the middle of March, right? And they're like, well, what if we did fantasy sports over one day instead of over all season? Literally just bullshitting over drinks or whatever. That's how they came up with the idea.
Did they like American sports? Did they know about American sports?
Not particularly.
Right.
Not particularly. Right?
Hobby.
But then what happened is as it started to take off, then they started paying attention to some of the legality, et cetera. And they're like, well, the law is ambiguous about the length of time that your league is because the senators wrote the exemption broadly because they didn't want their fantasy baseball league. But it didn't say it had to be all year. It didn't say it had to be one day. Now, it was very clear from the UEJA law, it couldn't be betting on the outcome of the game, though.
Right. Sure.
So like, well, okay, can't bet on the outcome of the game, but you can go draft your players for one day. And that's the birth of the industry that you guys all know and love.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's wild.
Yeah.
And you can bet
You know what we should do? We should get Nigel and Leslie
I
on.
would love. I'm so interested in that.
That would be a great interview. Just them telling, because obviously everything that's happened since is kind of public, but the really early days about what they did and
I would love that. I would love to pick their brain.
let's get them on here.
Yeah.
They live up in New York State. They're easy to get a hold of.
I got to meet them at your 50th party.
Oh, yeah,
really
birthday
great
party.
people while we were watching Piff the Magic Dragon.
That was fun.
It was a good time.
Yeah, that was all right. That was good. And we had Shin Lim for Arthy's birthday then a couple weeks later. later. I tell you what, man, that was a good time. All right, so back to what we were talking about. I love that we did this sidelight. But Gargano, we got to get you on this, cuz. The Sixers, man.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to say this. I said this to you, I think, in another interview. It's tough to even call that our hometown team for me right now.
I know.
That team is so screwed up. The organization is so unlikable. The decisions are so terrible. Like, and now it looks like it's going to be another couple of years in the wilderness. What's going on, cuz?
Well, a couple things. One, it's all about Embiid's knee, right? And everything revolves around the knee. And Derrick knows this. So Morey decides, all right, we're always going to build around Joel.
Okay.
All right. So fast forward, we know what happened with Harden. He didn't want to commit to Harden, which at that point, I don't blame him. Even though Harden's playing some good ball now, I don't blame him. Whatever. He's like, all right, we're going to go get Paul George.
Yep.
Because Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid, theoretically, big three that should be able to compete.
Yep.
Joe plays in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Joe does not rehab that knee, goes and plays in the Olympics, and the condition worsens. Fast forward all this time, the knee is degenerative.
Yep.
And I heard that he had 9 different opinions, medical opinions.
Wow.
And they were split 3, 3, and 3. 3 people said there's nothing you can do. You can play, you just have to tolerate the pain.
Yep.
3 of them said you could do something really dramatic, right? Like almost go through the hip, where you would actually break the hip bone and realign the knee.
I read that. Oof.
Right? And then the other one, it was more exploratory when it came to the cartilage.
Yeah.
And try to get the cartilage with the artificial cartilage put in. And
Yeah.
maybe you could put some cushion and all that stuff. But truthfully, that's where they're at. And it looks like there's no answer. And he's not himself. Like, he can't play at any kind of level the way he is now. He can't play. You'll never compete. He can't play. There's only a handful of games he can play. There's no volume to the season. And they're built around him. Paul George is useless without Embiid. He only works if Embiid's on the floor.
So why
because
did
of the space?
So cuz why did they we went through the math of it. We actually pulled out the numbers on the contract. Why did they they're paying him $69 million in 27 or something.
Yeah.
Like what, like don't get me wrong. I would love to see Joel be one of those kind of Bryce Harper, now Jalen Hurts kind of people, right? He was always on the bubble. Now he's probably a Philly guy, right? But I would love to see him be that way. But boy, oh boy, why do you extend him? I asked Brooks this on the show. Why do you do that?
They're only, and you tell me if you disagree with anything I'm saying.
Okay.
Right? Their only play is Embiid. Without Embiid, they're not. You have to completely rebuild. And now you're looking at this. I'm going to rebuild behind 2 undersized guards.
Yes.
You got Maxey and McCain.
Yeah.
They're both undersized 2s. Now, McCain could play a little 1, but they're undersized 2 guards. You can't win anything building around 2 undersized, having an undersized backcourt. So they're forced to just go down the Embiid road. That's why they paid him. That's why they doubled down on him. You know about gambling. This was, I'm chasing my losses. Right?
Brooks, I think he got, I'm chasing my losses.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could have said that better, cuz.
Doubling down. No. He's got to get better. We'll get medical help. We'll do whatever we can. And without him, the thing is a house of cards. They're not good. The rest of the roster blows, right? Right now, they're desperate. I told them early in the year when it looked like Embiid was iffy and he couldn't play much, you got to tank now. I told you.
Yep.
I said, you got to tank. You got to protect that number 6 overall pick. That's an asset. You can't go through a whole year with no asset. Like, you're going to have one of the worst seasons in the history of the franchise with the process, right? And you're going to come away with nothing, with your pockets coming out of your pants. That's a disaster.
When's the last time you talked to Hinkie?
So I texted with him. I was going to write a book, right?
Well, okay, now it's really
Right,
now
so-
we got to hear this.
So when things were looking up, and Ben Simmons was still a basketball player, right?
Oh, he was a basketball
He was
player.
a basketball-
I don't remember. I actually don't remember that week.
You-
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, cuz.
Like he actually at one point had amazing ability. I'm sorry, like look, the kid lacked in his heart,
Well, that was a big
right, and
yeah.
the kid has some sort of mental block,
Yeah,
right, about
yeah.
shooting the basketball. But he didn't always have that. Like I was in Vegas for his rookie
Summer league.
the summer league in Vegas for his rookie when after he got drafted, and I remember that season. Like he was a pro. Like first of all, he was Magic Johnson. Like I mean, he saw his court vision was unbelievable. He was a physical specimen, long. When you're and he grew. I remember Brett Brown saying to me, he grew 2 more inches. He's 7'1".
Wow.
And the way he had his handle, I mean, he saw the floor, but he fell in love with the life. And here's the other thing. The way the organization treated them completely ruined them.
Yeah.
Like completely, because you gave them all the power. They got rich, fat, and he didn't want to play ball. He loved the life. The big, parties and Hollywood. He had the place in Hollywood Hills.
Kardashian.
Right. It ruined him. But, he fell into that whole trap, didn't care about his craft, right? And then he had a mental block about shooting the basketball. But I remember, so during that period of time, I was going to write a book about the process. And I had all the access. They gave me every access. So I was on their team planes.
Yep.
Right? This is the year, I'll even tell you, Horford was here.
Yeah. Okay.
That was an
year.
inside job, too.
Yeah. So, and I feel, actually, Al, I know everybody hates him, right?
Elton and Al are good friends.
Al's actually a good dude. Like, he
shoots the ball great for everybody but the Sixers.
I know, he was horrible.
He killed the Sixers every time you played him, too.
If I was the GM, I would sign you, and I'd say, listen, I'm going to pay you $30 million. Later, I need 15 from me.
Although I didn't want that.
Nice.
But I'll never forget. I was in Dallas with them.
Yeah.
And there was a big fight going on. Anyway, I was in Dallas, and it was a national televised game, Luka, the whole thing. And afterward, they lost. And then afterwards, and Horford was going through it. He had like a horrible stretch.
Yep.
And we're walking to the bus to take us back to the hotel. Or actually take us to the plane to go to Indiana. And he's got a plate of food. And he's like shuffling by himself. And I'm walking next to him, and he's like, "You want a chicken finger?" Right? And I felt bad for him. Like, and I said, "You're right, Al. You know." He's like, I just don't know. I can't figure it out. He wanted so badly to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. I can't feel comfortable. I'm not comfortable. And I got the wisdom of it. I go, well, they're the Monstars, right? They're tremendous length and the whole thing. He couldn't shoot. He had wide open 3 after 3. Look at him now. He's 100 years old and he's still burying threes.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But all that period of time, so I kept going back and forth with Hinkie. And Hinkie was teaching a course at Cal, I want to say, or at Stanford.
Okay.
And so we were going back and forth, and he's like, he didn't want to be interviewed on the record for the book. And he's like, well, maybe. I'm like, dude, like
it's been long enough now, though. I mean, somebody really should write this book.
He won't. I'm telling you, to this day, every once in a while, how you doing, Sam? Good. Like, he'll answer you, but he won't sit down with you. It's unbelievable. It's so interesting because for this period of time in his life, he was the NBA GM and the architect of the process.
Isn't the statute of limitations over?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think at some point
right, like,
he'd want to go, okay, guys, let me tell you what's up, right?
Like, so Scott is running Live. I'll never forget what happened. One of the things that really put Sam over the top where they were ready to move, besides the NBA, because the NBA got involved, but it was really interesting because the owners sat down with him and they're like, all right, well, like, when are we going to compete? Like, they're itching now. And he's like, we're not competing. We're continuing to collect assets.
Yes.
He wanted, they had Embiid, they had Simmons, right? Like, they had, We're going to, until we get it right,
Yes.
we're going to continue. They did not, you know this.
We found the loophole.
Yeah.
We found it.
And we're just going to, we're going to keep collecting assets. We're going to fill our war chest up. Interestingly, you know who followed the Hinkie plan?
Who did that, cuz?
OKC. OKC. And look, last night they beat Denver again. Rolled them. Right? Twice. Two get back-to-back. They rolled them. They got a slew of picks. They have a team. They sat all their guys the other night. They played with all their backups, and they blew out Portland. They're that good because they actually went through the Hinkie plan. Remember,
They actually did it.
Well, they did it quietly.
right?
We're boisterous Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Like, look at us.
Yes.
We got a process going.
Yeah, we had to name it something. How dumb are we?
Exactly.
We got
We're
a
breaking the law. We're
Look how dumb the league is.
That's
We got a process.
Exactly.
No one else has a process. Only us.
You know who we are? The Wet Bandits.
Right.
All right? Home Alone.
We put water in
By the
everyone's
way,
house.
guys, I got one picture that just sits in my head though. So, Howie Roseman on top of the world. Second Super Bowl champion, probably the best GM in the league. Like, if you were going to start any sports team, you might draft him first, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you literally might draft
Number
him.
one pick.
Yeah.
Opening night. It was a Monday night game, Chip Kelly era.
Oh, I got a story for you.
Chip Kelly era. Game is down in Atlanta. I remember the game. I was there with a whole bunch of my buddies, and we do one Eagles away game. It was the game that Kiko Alonso had his only good play as an Eagle. He had an interception in the end zone. It was like the only good play he had in his whole career. The Eagles still lost on a last-minute field goal. But here's
You
the
know why I
part.
called Kiko?
What's it?
Shakiko, like Shakira. And I would say,
Nice.
Shakiko.
Nice,
Because
nice.
he was so bad. Don't lie. Yes.
So why do I bring this up when he's how Al Horford with the
Right.
play? Howie Roseman wasn't allowed on the team plane to come down to that game.
Uh-huh.
He was in coach class with a couple of my buddies. He wasn't even in first class. He was in coach class with a couple of my buddies who were flying down to the game. They get to the hotel. We're staying at the same hotel that the Eagles are staying at, just by total random luck. And I'll go, guess who was on the airplane with me? Like Howie Roseman. I said, what was he doing? It, basically the way you just described Al Horford, like wandering around with a plate of food looking for where the team was.
That's insane.
Now think about it. That's not that many years ago.
Okay.
And so for him to have been literally basically
The greatest story
Perp
ever.
walked out of the building, not even allowed on the team plane, to be on top of the world. And sometimes you get a second chance.
Exactly. I can't believe you experienced that. That is so on point. So let's go rewind a couple years before that. All right. Do you remember Gus Bradley?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Gus Bradley was the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, and he was the front runner for the Eagles head coaching.
I remember that.
All right. In fact, he had the job. So the Big Dom is my man, right?
Yeah.
Before Big Dom was Butchie.
Wait a minute. Have you ever seen Big Dom and Cuz in the same room at the same time? Have you, Brooks? Now I'm asking you a question.
Things that make you
go,
go.
okay, all right, okay, all right.
So predating Big Dom, and Big Dom was on the staff, was a guy named Butchie.
Okay.
Butch Canico, former Philly cop, mounted police, head of Rendell security detail,
Okay.
and Eagles security. I used to call him Mr. Wolf.
Okay.
Because Mr. Wolf made things go away.
Yeah.
All right. Like there was a player
Right.
that I will tell you that got stopped across the Ben Franklin Bridge, and in the trunk were a bunch of automatic weapons.
Yeah.
All right.
He made that just disappear.
Well, I don't know if he did, but
I understand.
it disappeared.
Mr. What? Reservoir Dogs, right? Right.
Awesome.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction,
Yeah.
right. Wrong one.
But same thing.
Wrong
right?
Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
All right, yeah,
But
that's okay.
it disappeared. Like nobody ever. You never heard about that story,
Nope.
right?
Not until right now.
On a Saturday night, it just I don't know. Then went away.
Never happened.
So Mr. Wolf, and it is interesting, right? Calls me up and says, Gus, I'm driving Gus
Yeah.
to Jeffrey's house on the main line. I'm going to put the station on. Welcome Gus to town. I'm like, you got it. So I'm on the air. All right. I start going, Gus, yo, Gus Bradley's listening to the show right now. 215-592-0610, whatever, right? People are calling, welcome, Gus. She had the blitz. Remember, we love defense, right?
Right. Defensive guy.
We were like excited that Gus Bradley was going to be the coach. So we're one call after another. Welcome, Gus. Welcome, Gus.
Right.
So Butchie's like, oh, he's loving this. He's loving this. He gets to Jeffrey's house. They're about to do the deal. Jeffrey excuses himself. He goes into the kitchen. He gets a text from Chip Kelly. And Chip Kelly said he'd accept the offer. And Chip Kelly said one of the caveats was Howie can't be like in charge of anything. I'm full control.
And he wasn't.
Well, wait. So Jeffrey's like, no, I can't do that. Jeffrey said that Howie was my Theo Epstein. And he's like,
That's by the way, for everybody watching, that's the good Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay, not the bad Epstein.
Theo got the Red Sox and the Cubs to the World Series.
Right. And had no island.
There was no island.
There was no flight manifest. There was none of that.
No
All right, yeah.
Theo was the man. Right. He was a good guy.
But make sure some of our viewers might not know the difference between
Theo,
Epsteins.
good guy.
Okay,
all right, just so you know.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, man, he's my archie. I'm telling you. So they get to the point where they agree that he'll be his personnel guy. They'll work together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
First year they work together. Well, Chip takes the league by storm, right? The first game in Washington, it looks like a video game. Michael Vick throwing touchdowns. It was unbelievable, right? Yeah. So now Chip, who was a supreme jerk-off, right? Like,
technical term.
If there were two jerk-offs in the room, he'd be both of them. All right? This guy said,
maybe we get Chip Kelly on as a guest.
I would love it. Right, let's go. He's back in the NFL now, the Raiders. So he was just a miserable. I'll tell you stories, chapter and verse with Chip. So he says, he goes to Jeffrey and says, I want him out. Right? It's me or him.
Yep.
And he had the power because he made the playoffs. Remember that playoff game against the Saints?
Sure.
Right? Made the playoffs. It was a big deal.
Yep.
So Jeffrey's tied. He's like, listen, I don't want to fire him. He's like, I don't care what you do with him, but he's not on the football side. So they banished Howie to the other side of the office.
That's what they did.
And I come walking. One day I'm talking to Howie, and he says, come to lunch at the NovaCare. I'm like, all right. So we go. I go have lunch with him, and we're at NovaCare. And Chip walks around like, what's he doing here type of thing. And all Howie was doing was, hey, man, I don't know what to do. Like, I got the Jets. I mean, Jets were interested, but I love Jeffrey. And if this thing falls apart, I want to be here for Jeffrey. And at that point, he didn't have a name. It wasn't like teams were going, I want that guy. Right? Like, what? Remember, they had that problem with the draft. Smith. Who was the kid? They had the fireman.
LJ.
No.
Oh my God, the fireman.
The fireman.
Sixth pick or whatever.
Yeah,
Holy hell.
was 25-year-old guard out of Baylor, and then they had.
I forgot about him.
And then they traded back and they were stuck, and they wound up drafting that kid Smith. He was an edge guy. He never did anything.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Anyway, so I was like, I don't know what to do, So I was basically the shoulder for him. And I loved Howie. Like I knew Howie and I lived in Society Hill together, and he had young kids like I did, and I'd see him at the neighborhood and all. Like the whole thing. And we were close with Tommy Heckert. I don't know if you remember Tommy Heckert. He was the personnel guy under Andy. Andy hired him, right? He died of blood cancer. He was a really good guy. His father worked for the Dolphins, the whole thing. But Howie was like in this horrible place. And to your point, that was not a long time ago.
That was not that long ago. I mean, I got to go look up what year that was, that Monday night opening game. Was 10 years ago?
It had to be 15, 16.
Yeah, I don't even think it's 10 years. It's like 9 years ago.
Exactly.
It's just amazing how that happened.
It's a great lesson for life.
Oh, it can change.
Oh, yeah.
It can change.
And when you got talent, usually talent eventually shows up.
Yeah.
unfortunately for the Sixers, though, and I have to say this, that the downfall of the Sixers is really my fault.
Yo, you got to tell him this.
It's my fault because I reached out to the Sixers very early on to tell them how to change the culture, how to become a team that creates a dynasty from within, winning. And I was met with, haha, DU crazy, right?
Danny Watkins was the fireman.
Danny
Watkins was
yes,
the fireman. I had to look
yes.
it up. I didn't remember it. I'm
Watkins.
sorry to interrupt, but the fireman. I don't know how we forgot the
That's
fireman.
called Fireman Sam.
Okay, keep going, Brooks.
I was met with laughter. Like, what would you know? How would you know? We're on to bigger and better names.
What?
I picked myself up. I was in an actual meeting with the owners, and I picked myself up, kept myself from crying. I went home, and I created a Sixers voodoo doll. And ever since, I've been taking this voodoo doll to town. Did you see at the Super Bowl, some woman had some Eagles?
Yes.
Shit.
Yes. And she's sitting there like almost possessed.
That's me every Sixers
the
game.
Sixers.
And until they do right, they're not going to be successful.
So a question for you, because this is fascinating. What were you? You have credence. You worked with them when you were a 17-year-old kid. You know what I mean? And you spent a life in the league, agent, work behind the scenes, agent, the whole way. Great story. What would you have? What were you? At what point of the process was it? And what was your plan?
So the point of the process was probably 2016. It was the year Ben was drafted.
Okay.
And so at that point, I said, it is time to stop building their character out of being losers. Because part of being losers and being told to lose every game is every facet of losing is fair game. What I mean by that is if you want your team to lose the next day, you don't walk in the locker room and say, hey, guys, we're playing the Bulls tomorrow. I want to lose by 10 or 15. No, that's too simplistic. What you do is you don't get on their case about anything they would do naturally. Your players, you're in Miami. Typically, you're going to have a curfew. There's no curfew. You could stay out till 3 a.m. You could come in when the sun does. You can show up for practice late. You can be Embiid and sit on camera for a national TV game and eat a cheeseburger while they're wrapping your foot. You could do all these things that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have that loser mentality. I want to lose. So it was fine with everyone. It was fine with the coaching staff. It was fine with the executives. It was fine with the ownership group until it became not fine, because now those same people that you've brought up in this loser culture are being asked to be winners.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Too late.
And by the way, Brooks, I looked this up. It was September 15th, 2015. So it's 2025. That game, the Chip Kelly game that he was in the backseat of the coach class.
So 10 years.
That was 9.5 years ago. It's almost 10 years. It was the year before Simmons came in. Now take a look at this. Now think about this. Look at what the Sixers have done in those 9.5 years.
Wow.
And look at what the Eagles have done in those 9.5 years. And by the way, he was sitting in the back of the plane. Right? He didn't even have a think about it. He didn't even have a platform to do it from, and look at what he did. Think about it that way. Compare the two teams.
And you know what's fascinating is they both started from that same spot where the Sixers drafted Simmons and the Eagles. He gets the job, right?
Yep.
Comes back. Howie's resurrected.
Right.
He drafts Wentz.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're right.
Right. The most amazing thing that Howie's done is, and Wentz and Simmons both should have been stars.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Right. Both had similar mentalities.
Yep.
Weak. Right.
Yep.
Wentz was weak. Couldn't handle it, and we saw that. I mean, he was incredible talent. Big, strong,
Yep.
right? Could
Every
move.
tool he needed. Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the truth. Howie somehow won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3 after Wentz.
Yeah.
Afterwards, right? So it's not like oh, we drafted bad, we had a bad break, because Wentz was never the same once he came back from his injury. But it's exactly right. it wasn't like everything just came up roses for Roseman.
Exactly.
He got value.
Good pun.
He got value for a stiff.
Yep.
He parlayed that into, like, think about this. He took a backup quarterback in Foles. I mean, I was at the game Wentz was injured at. I was at the LA.
in LA, you
I
were,
was
yes.
at the LA Coliseum. I had 40 people at the LA Coliseum, and we're all walking out, and we're on our cell phones, and it's Wentz's at ACL. He's done for the season, and there was one guy, Joe Bolstein, my neighbor, right around the corner. We can win with Foles. I remember we're all laughing. We're looking at him. We can win with Foles. He said it
Bet
that night though.
12 and a
So
half.
I give him that credit though. So not only did Roseman make lemons from lemonade, he beat Tom Brady with Foles.
Yeah.
And he made Patrick Mahomes look like a school kid with his second round pick who pissed him off, Jalen Hurts, who outplayed him on both Super Bowls, by the way, as we both know.
Yes.
Even though he didn't win the first one. Hurts outplayed him both times.
Yeah. Now, they're both at that same starting gate, as you say, right? 2010-ish, right?
Yeah.
The owner of the Eagles, as you mentioned, was so steadfast that he knew that the guy that he was being told was not the guy. Something about him was recognized that he could be a good star for him.
Yes.
And he didn't have a big name.
Yes. Yeah. No.
So,
That's
so
right.
Jeffrey, at any point, Jeffrey could have went out and got the biggest of name to come in and really screw up this organization. But he trusted a guy that no one else cared or knew about.
That's
right?
right.
The Sixers were the exact opposite.
That's right.
They went star hunting
Exact opposite.
to bring in someone that everyone knew that probably did something by luck 5-10 years ago, brought him here, didn't understand the city, didn't understand the culture,
Right.
didn't understand the fans, didn't understand the people, didn't understand the mission or longevity, and that's where they derailed.
You believe in parallel lives? Because I do.
Oh,
Right?
tons
Parallel
of-
universes,
All of them.
right? In another life,
In another one, I'm as good looking as you. In another one, I mean, I know that one exists somewhere, cuz.
in another life, he was Howie Roseman, or with the Sixers.
For basketball. It
We
was,
know you would have been. You turned the Sixers around.
Yeah.
Like they don't go that other route, Morey or they go to you.
And you're the president. He literally he read it on our show a couple days ago. He read it. He said, if you do this, basically, I'm gonna steal his thunder. Basically, he said, trade Simmons. He's at the height of his value. He's gonna stink. What was the phrase you used? He's gonna be one of the
biggest undercover bust.
biggest. He wrote biggest undercover bust in the history of the league.
Yes.
And by the way, not only should you do this, you should make the trade with MJ, Michael Jordan, down in Carolina. And once you make the trade, you should make me president. That's literally, he sent that to some high up in the Sixers. He read it on the show the other day.
I still have the email. And the reply. The response to the email is better than the email because it's 3 words.
What is it?
D, you crazy.
He had it. He had the play. He had it all, and he knew who to fleece too.
Yes.
He not only knew the play, he knew the fleece.
And you would have fleeced him.
Oh, yeah.
You would have had all those picks.
Yeah, Michael Jordan is a born gambler. And he would have said, what kind of idiot gets rid of Ben Simmons?
Oh my God.
If he just made his first All-Star game and he's coming off of being the Rookie of the Year. What kind of idiot gets rid of this guy? He's new. He doesn't understand the game. Get him for everything. Get him for everything. We would have walked out with a haul.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
And he'd be the president too. Not only would the
You would
Sixers
have
be
half
good.
Like you would have half the
I'd have
Jordan
every-
contract.
Okay, wait a minute. You know what would be bad though? He'd be so big time he wouldn't be on the show.
exactly.
Like we wouldn't be sitting here.
We wouldn't know.
We wouldn't like. He'd be like, I don't know who that guy is. Who's that Martino Gargano? Listen, I'm hanging out.
listen,
I'm big time now.
Listen to me.
Oh yeah, right. That'd be right. I'd be like, so, hey, look. So
It was a
thank
good
God,
year.
thank
It was a
God
good-
they didn't
it was a
listen
good
to
run. It
you.
was a good couple of years. Thank you, Michael.
You know,
30 for 30.
thank you,
We
Michael.
do 30 for 30 right here.
You can buy Jordans or you can buy Brookses. Whatever you feel.
Wait,
You're gonna buy some Brookses. I like that.
speaking of Brookses,
This is a great running shoe, by the way.
that's right, Brooks. They tennis too. They
Yeah,
do long
yeah.
tennis.
Nice.
We're in there.
Speaking of Brookses, can we do this?
You can do whatever you want.
You got to tell this story. because it's one of the great stories of Derrick Brooks. All right? In fact, yeah, you tell the story because it came up again when we tried to book, I booked him for as a guest, right?
So, all right. Well, we got to set one thing up, though. We got people who watch this podcast. Some of them like the politics. Some of them like the sports. Some of them like the investing and the story. Some of them like all the bullshit. Well, that's why they like all of it. Anyway, so
I like, you know what I like?
What do you like?
I love your Silicon Valley days.
Yeah, well, yeah, we get some of that.
I love that stuff. I'm so fascinated by that stuff. I think this is the coolest thing in the world.
All right, but we got to set this up, though. So, look, my brother, Derrick Brooks, he's my brother. There is a guy who played for Tampa Bay who's in the Hall of Fame named Derrick Brooks.
Steve.
Now this is important. By the way, I frequently will introduce Derrick Brooks to somebody, and they will ask me if he's that Derrick Brooks. I go, no, he's the other Derrick Brooks. He's the other Derrick Brooks.
Well,
so this is important as we get into this story.
Hey, so I say we're having my buddy Derrick Brooks on.
Yeah, right. Right.
To my producer. Oh, cool, man. The guy for the Buccaneers.
You're right. Nope.
I'm like,
No.
no.
The real Derrick Brooks. The real Derrick Brooks.
There you go, Tampa Bay. No, this guy right here, who's a legend.
All right. So now with that set up, now you can tell the story, Brooks.
So I don't even remember what year this is. It's probably 2014 or 14 or 15. Ryan's building this like mega mansion.
So you're Ryan Howard's agent.
Yes. And he's building this mega, Ryan Howard's played for the Phillies, first baseman. He's building this mega mansion in Florida. And he's in season. So he's not able to be out there to kind of watch the general contractor and everything that's going on day to day. And so he's having some issues getting someone that he could trust be around a little bit more. And so I heard him talking about it. I volunteered. I said, hey, listen, I can do it. Like, I can do what I do from anywhere. So yeah, I'll go down to the mansion on the beach and I'll go swimming some days. I'll have some fun in Tampa. This house was between Clearwater and Largo, Florida, and about 45 minutes from Tampa. So my very first night going, excited to get down there. I'm going to spend 2 weeks. And so Ryan, he calls me and he says, my wife, Crystal, has all the information for you. You should be good to go. Locks, garage code, alarm keys and everything. So I get down there late, 11:45. It's about 45 minutes to get there. I get my rental car, I drive up. Gate code works. Get right in the gate, easy, right? Get up to the door, go through the garage, and the main house has a code. I put the main code in, goes off. We're good to go. I still hear a beeping. And I'm saying, where is this coming from? There's a guest house, a 10,000 square foot guest house.
Right, the little one, right? Yeah, that's cool.
That's where I'll stay.
Right. You're like, I'm good here. I'm good here.
This guest house is connected to the main house, and the guest house alarm is still going off.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I know with alarms, you only get a certain amount of time.
Sure.
Before
the popo shows up.
Yeah. Oh, hell's going to break loose soon. So I used my little bit of time to call his wife. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I don't have the code for the second house. She goes, oh, I don't either. Ryan does.
Oh, boy.
So I'm calling Ryan. It's late where he's at. He gets up.
He's on the right after a game, right?
Right after a game. He's in bed. He picks up and he goes, yeah, what's going on? I said, do you have the code to the house? He goes, no, I don't have the code. And then I said, well, the alarm is going off. I'm in the house. What do I do? He said, hold on a second. I'm going to try to call someone. Gets off. He comes back. And if you ever seen the movie Taken, remember when Liam Neeson says I've never connected with a movie character so vividly in my life. I felt what that little girl was feeling under that bed. Because he came back to the phone and he said, listen, the police are going to come and they're going to take you.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming for you.
And I had so many questions. Like, take me where? I don't want to be taken. Now's not the time to be taken.
Wasn't it over like a weekend or something? Like you would have been stuck there.
Yeah, I'd have been done. First of all, I probably wouldn't even made it to jail. I would have passed out in the back of the car from going to jail. I called my mom. I said, Mom, the police are going to take me. She's like, take you from where? Why are you being taken? Where are you? I'm like, I'm in Florida in Ryan's mansion about to be taken. So the police show up. And the fear is all over me. I could barely move. I didn't know I know I told you the dog story. I was the slowest kid. I was slow. Yes. Everything was slow motion to me. And I could see all the police sirens, and I pushed all on, every light in the house, because I figured a burglar would never do this.
Okay.
This should ease the tension.
That's smart.
Right? You weren't that slow.
This should ease the
something
tension.
Moving.
Right. I said, this should ease the tension. All lights on. Every light in the house goes on. Now go to the front door, and it's a dramatic 2 staircases with this big, giant, heavy door.
Like Scarface.
Yes, like Scarface. I open it up.
Were you in a tracksuit?
No, actually.
Now, I would like to see that. Derrick Brooks and me in matching tracksuits. Wait, I think
I'm down with that.
Maybe we'll get you one too.
I got a lot of tracksuits.
Yeah, I got a feeling
National
you do.
Avenue tuxedos.
I got a feeling you got a couple of tracksuits. I'm sorry to interrupt, but come on, that's a good image.
Actually, I open the door to face my fate. Right, these cops are there, and they're out of the car. From my vantage point, it looks like guns. I know this is a stand your ground law state, so they're going to have their way. There's a guy on the megaphone, and he yells out, "What's your name?" and my hands are up. They didn't ask me to put my hands up. I just did it voluntarily. Right. There you go. I have no weapons. I'm at the top of the stairs, and I slowly take a step forward, and I said, "My name is Derrick Brooks."
Oh.
Well, that eases all the tension. On their side, I'm still nervous. They go, the guy on the megaphone goes, "Oh, Derrick, I know you. You went to school with my brother Tommy." I said, "Hey, how's Tommy doing?" So nervous. I said, "I hope Tommy's not here. And I hope Tommy can't ID me from way down there." It's not him.
That's the wrong Derrick Brooks. That's okay. That's okay. Keep going.
He said, I said, "How's Tommy doing?" And he's like, "Tommy's great, man. Wait till I tell him. I didn't know you were building over here." I said, yeah, we're almost done. We're almost done. Tell Tommy I'll have him over for dinner as soon as we get this thing done. And he backs everybody off.
That was it.
They don't even come into the gates. And I feel relieved. I go back in and I tell this story to Ryan, and he's on the floor crying, laughing. It's like 2 a.m. at this point, and it was well worth it for him to wake up and hear the story. He said, "Only you would be able to say your name and get people with guns drawn to go away because you said the name Derrick Brooks."
We need a photo of Derrick Brooks, this one,
Yes.
next to Derrick Brooks, the lineman.
That'd be great.
Because I don't think that police officer was all that bright, is what I'm telling you.
And listen, as much as I could hide
Well,
whatever he was
looking,
steps,
right?
My
all the
vantage
lights
point-
were on now. All the lights were on. Like he wasn't like he didn't have no shadow, right? All the lights were on him.
Listen, as he knew he recognized me, I was hiding my face. Yeah, how's Tommy doing? Tommy's great. I keep my hands in front of me. Shadowy face. You guys, these lights.
Hey,
you guys with the lights. It's getting to me.
Oh, God, that's great.
Yeah.
have you ever met Derrick Brooks?
I have over the phone because we have a mutual friend.
All right, you got to tell me that.
James Brown, who's the CBS announcer.
Yeah, sure.
So James Brown, JB's my guy. And so we were in like, it was around football season, and JB sent out a text to a bunch of his guys, and I was on the text. So I reached back out to JB and I said, "Hey, I don't think I'm coming to South Carolina. I don't remember getting the invite to South Carolina." And it was a football thing going on, for like Hall of Famers. I had no clue, but JB has 2 Derrick Brookses in his phone.
Yes.
So he sends it to me, and I'm communicating back and forth with him. He thinks he's talking to the other Derrick Brooks. And I said, "If I can make it, I got a couple other things going on, but I might swing through and just have dinner with you guys before I leave." He said, "Anything you could do would be greatly appreciated." Right? So finally I said, I think I'm going to go down to South Carolina and meet up with JB and all of these football players. And so I called JB. I said, hey, listen, I think I'm going to come down. He said, your assistant already called and booked you. You're already booked. And I said, well, this is weird because I don't have an assistant.
Oh, no. The other Derrick Brooks strikes again.
I said, JB, either my phone's been hacked or someone's messing with you. I don't have an assistant. He's like, yes, you do. She called and she booked you. And then it took us 15 minutes on the phone arguing back and forth. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Until he realized, he said, is this Derrick Brooks from Philly? I said, yes. He said, this whole time I've been texting you. It's like people get upset when I tell them who I am.
We need to get the other Derrick Brooks on the show.
Yes.
Now that's another.
Yes.
And we should ask him if he's ever mistaken.
For this Derrick Brooks,
Yes.
Right.
we need to get Ryan Howard on. We need his version. I want to hear him talking about laughing on the floor.
Oh, yeah. It was
And
very
you know what?
nonchalant.
We're talking about all these celebrities and people we want to show. Let me tell you how weird Derrick Brooks is. We're talking about, like, we're going to have Ryan Howard on the show, and maybe we'll get Howie Roseman on the show, and Cuz is kind of our guest host. And blah. You know who he wants on the show?
Who?
He wants the guy from Dateline who always talks about who got shot.
Keith Morrison.
He wants that guy. He wants that guy. All he wants him to do, he wants him to
His
sit right here
voice.
and just say his name, Derrick Brooks. Derrick Brooks was there. Derrick Brooks was interviewed. Derrick Brooks was the assailant. Derrick Brooks was killed.
Yes.
He just wants him to sit right there. Like, isn't that a weird guy to want to have on your show?
Because I don't want to be the murderer or the murdered. I just want to be an innocent bystander walking by.
Right.
He's like, and this guy who has absolutely nothing to do with this story just
Derrick
came in to
Brooks.
say hello. His name's Derrick Brooks. And I go, thank you, Keith Morrison. I've always wanted to hear you say that name.
Isn't that a weird guy? Isn't that a weird person to have?
He has a
That's the
storytelling
guy
voice.
He wants.
Yeah, he does. He does have
We'll have to
stories.
record the episode on a
Yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And
10 o'clock.
Now look. So that's a good cue. That's a good lead up for this question. Who's someone you want to have on this show? You know, we know a weirdo over here once, but who's someone we need to have on this show?
All right. So I want to go back, and I teased this earlier, but I do. I want to go back to your days at Silicon Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want one of your peers from those days. I want to hear the stories being told and the
About me instead of me about them.
Right.
I'll work on that.
And the intersection, because what I'm fascinated by is that the world that we live in 2025 stems from your time there. Like all the technology.
All the social stuff.
Right?
All the social
like
stuff.
That
Yeah.
whole world. But that's our world.
It is.
Right? Like in so many ways, our world is that. And it all was there. And you were at the beginning of it. It's like being, talking to Joe DiMaggio in that sense. No, but seriously,
Yeah.
No, we were early.
like the world's changed in so many ways.
Think about this, how funny it would be to see or hear the story of Mark Zuckerberg saying, I texted Martino and he left me on red. He never responded to me.
Yeah.
He didn't call me back.
I mean,
No, we got some. Let me.
who was it that you had to babysit for the week?
That was Zuckerberg.
Was
Yeah,
Zuckerberg.
that was
Yeah.
Zuckerberg. Yeah. So I'll come up with the right person for that one. We'll get them on the show, and they'll go, "Oh, Martino tells the story. Let me tell you the stories about
Yeah, I
Martino."
gotta hear it.
You want? Yeah. I'll be like the movie poster in the back, and you guys can
I
sit in the back.
want to hear that stuff.
And what we'll do is we'll have that guy Keith just say my name a few times.
He can narrate it.
You know, and it just kind
As
of like
Paul listens to his
Paul
story, he
Martino.
grows closer to the group.
he watches way too much
listen.
Dateline.
Dateline's every Friday. I have Dateline parties if anybody wants. Everybody wants to show up.
You know. By the way, you know, Brooks. I'm learning some things about you. Now, wait a minute. You go out
We
on the
live
road.
together all our
Right.
lives.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Right. We shared
He
that
just
wall.
ignored the wall.
Yeah. I mean, mom did always say you were the weird one. I mean, I must admit, mom always said. But let me tell you how weird he is. Think about this. He doesn't drink. He works with all these great celebrities and athletes. But if he doesn't watch Dateline at 10 o'clock Friday night, it's a bad Friday night. I mean, what are you? Are you in your pajamas and you go to bed after Dateline, Derrick?
I'll tell you what, if someone did want to murder me, they know where to find me. They know where to go.
They would know.
They
They'd be like, I don't care. It says he's supposed to be in Phoenix with Allen Iverson. Nope. He's watching Dateline. I know where to get him. Right? Yeah. Yeah. He's a lot of fun at parties.
I am. No one wants to hear what I'm talking about Dateline. I find it fascinating.
I see that. I definitely see that.
I try to guess in the first 5 minutes who killed who. I'm always wrong.
Well, they set you up for that. Come on, in fairness, it's kind of a misdirection.
It's his storytelling.
It is
It's an art to his storytelling.
Yeah,
You gotta watch Keith Morrison, and everybody will agree with me.
See, when we hit the big time, yeah,
That is actually it is. I get food.
I told you. This is what Mom always said about Derrick. Mom always said.
People don't realize. About 5 years ago, I used to have Dateline parties. I had a whole group of people interested just like me. I don't know where they are now. It's mystery. Maybe there's a Dateline about that.
Wait. Now, by friends, do you mean actual people? Or wait.
Was your brother there?
Never showed up to a Dateline party
was
ever.
it some stuffed animals that you put in the chairs?
The mustache
Was it my little hippo right here? Now, or was it actual people, Derrick? Now,
They may or
think
may
hard.
not have talked back.
Yeah, right. So I'm not quite sure I believe you at Dateline parties with these friends.
People were so interested in it.
Yeah.
Whodunits?
Friends.
What was your wife saying?
Man, she didn't get into it at first. She thought it was weird. She's like, "Why do you obsess over this type of stuff?"
I don't know why she
Why are
thinks
you
that's weird.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think that would be pretty cool.
I said, "Listen, you got to sit down and watch it." And she's a killer. She goes, "Oh, it wasn't her, it was him," and she messes up the entire hour. The entire hour.
Oh, the whole flow.
Yeah, Keith sets this up so that you don't think it's him at all. He's like, could it have been the butcher who he sees there every day? Or the nice young lady at the library? And she goes, it's the library lady. I'm like, no, it's the butcher. He has the knife. Look, he's stabbing. The lady has a book. It couldn't have been her.
She
beat
you in Clue.
You can't watch anything with her. She spills it way too early.
So you uninvited her to
she's not.
to the
She's
club.
off the list.
Well, that's why you invited people who don't speak to your Dateline club.
So we're
I
all in
understand.
suspense.
Yeah, I got
Whether
it.
they understand what suspense is or not. But my daughter, when she was born, my wife will attest to this. My daughter was born, and she, you know how kids wake up at 2, 3 in the morning.
Right.
And I said, listen, if she wakes up at any point in the night, I got it. And so my wife thought, he's like the greatest father ever. He just gets up with the baby, they disappear, I get to sleep. So one day she came to the basement just to figure out what is it that we're doing at 2, 3 in the morning that she's not privy to. And we're watching Dateline.
Oh
together.
my God! The baby wasn't Dateline.
Yes, at 3 months.
Okay, now in fairness, the whole way we got on this Dateline thing on one of our other episodes is I was explaining that my daughter Vanessa loves to watch the show American Greed because she loves Stacy Keach's voice, who narrates.
Yes.
And they did a whole episode on me and Michael Pierce and how we made Inside Game because these guys stole money from us, and we testified in their trial. And I'm like, Vanessa.
Well, they did an episode.
Oh, they did. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's so close.
They did a 1 hour episode, and it's great because Stacy Keach. This is why he was so jealous. He's like, Stacy Keach is like, and Mr. Martino, and I'm like, yeah. And he says, Stacy Keach is saying my name. He's saying my name. Brooks. Stacy Keach is saying. Yeah. Oh, it's great. Oh yeah, dude. It's Fame, Fortune, and somebody.
Dude, I know that
it's
show.
a one hour episode. It's so the whole way we got on this is.
I didn't even know the story. How do I not know the story?
When Vanessa was a little girl and she'd have her temper tantrums, I would put American Greed on because Stacy Keach's voice would lullaby her.
Yeah.
This is this is the thing.
This is the kindred.
This is where
he was calling me
mom
weird,
taught us, right?
but he's just in the mirror. He's just mirroring himself.
Like I said, we just looked at mom taught us both the same, you know.
Well, interestingly, when my boys were babies, and I would do the same thing. I'd get up, and I would put on NFL Network. And
they would. But see, at least he's a man.
Yeah, he can
Right,
get away with
at
it.
least he's a man.
It's not watching crime shows.
Right, we got crime shows for the both of us.
But I would put on the NFL Network,
Right.
or MLB,
And you get Sable. Sable would be like, whoa,
right
now.
now. The autumn wind was a pirate. You're right, Aunt.
Yeah.
How about that? Someday, Dad, you're going to be that guy. Since there it is, Big Massimo. your arm. You got a great arm, Massimo. I'm telling you.
See, that's so much better than me explaining to a 3-month-old. See, after you rob them, you can't go to Cuba
but
first.
if I-
Everyone goes to Cuba first. You gotta go to Mexico, baby. You gotta change your hair color.
Mexico.
You 3-month-old.
Right. He's not been on Dateline
No.
yet. He's aspiring to be on Dateline.
Yeah.
No.
As a
but
passerby.
You are. I actually.
As a passerby.
Oh my God! Hold on. I think I have a producer.
No
a
way.
former producer.
No
of
way.
Dateline.
He's-
Listen,
He's getting me crazy.
we need to get him on the show.
Hold
And
on.
what we need to do is, you know what would be funnier? What we need to do is we'll do that episode in the studio, and we'll have, in the studio they always have the spot where the producer is.
Yes.
We'll just have him like sitting there like Don Pardo used to do on Jeopardy, and like he'll just read random shit. He'll say people's names.
Oh my God.
That's all we need him to do. All right, Gargano, we're gonna get one of my Silicon Valley buddies on here. Going to tell you some stories.
Yes.
We're gonna get your guy from Dateline.
Keith.
We're gonna get. I got a couple buddies of mine. We already had Donaghy on. I mean,
Yeah, that's great.
We're
We
gonna
got to do the Donaghy watch party.
we're gonna do the Donaghy watch party. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, it's like this stuff writes itself.
Yeah.
Cause I love having you in the middle chair. I
love
love
it,
when you're
brother.
our guest host.
My brother.
Wonderful to see you.
I'm the third brother.
That's right. That's right. He was
Every
was
other
the cousin.
weekend.
He was a cousin in the house down the street.
Yes.
Right. You know who that guy was.
Yeah.
And mom didn't like when he was over.
Yes.
But he invited him every once in a while.
Don't let Anthony get you in trouble.
Yeah, don't let. Yeah, 'cause Anthony, the stickball Anthony. No, not stickball Anthony. We don't need
He's
him.
wearing that tracksuit again.
Yeah, all right. Till next time. Listen, for Derrick Brooks, my brother, I'm Paul Martino. This is our buddy, cuz Anthony Gargano. This is the Inside Game. We'll see you next time.